Hi, good morning, everyone. It is November 12th. This is a planning board working session. We have two meetings today. Taco Bell is one, and then Rolex is second. We have applicants for Taco Bell present. Welcome. Introduce yourself and yeah,
Mike McCracken with Hospitality Restaurant Group.
the speaker's up there, so it's going to be. All right, so we'll kind of go through. This is a new site plan from what we saw last. Can you kind of just give us a quick 5-minute, what was your thought process? How'd you come to this?
Yeah, we were, Matt, I think Matt's on the line.
Yeah, I'm on, yeah.
And John. I wasn't here at the last meeting. I had in California for a Taco Bell event, but I guess the comments were back that that the board would like to see the building closer to the sidewalk. And we just positioned the building as close as we could. There's some challenges. There's a Niagara Mohawk easement that cuts right through the center of the property. So as you can see, there's some, right where the dumpster is, you see the dumpster corral, you see those two lines? That's a no build zone. Now, I think we could set a dumpster on it, but we can't build a building on it because they may have to get into it someday. So that poses a bit of a challenge, because when you bring the building parallel to the road, and you still need to be able to queue enough cars, that we have to get it a little closer than the code allows. So we would require a setback variance to, in order to achieve that. A similar situation over in Thompson Road, we needed a setback variance to bring the building closer. This is even a little bit closer than that was.
How far from the road frontage?
It's 10 feet. I believe it's 10 feet. Matt can speak to it.
Yeah, it's a 10-foot offset from the right of way line, guys. So, we are tight, but as Mike said, we're pinched with that easement line. I think at the last meeting, there was several points that were brought up, pushing the building parallel to Bridge Street. Showing that walkable corridor with, new sidewalks, and wrapping those sidewalks along Marginal Way to Enterprise. As well, we moved the dumpster to the rear. We're showing a ghost in for potential future development, which is consistent with the traffic report that Gordon Stansberry did with us. We're not sure what's going to happen with that future yet, but we ghosted that in so that we can tabulate the parking count. Certainly with the immediate build is what's shown in the gray here. We're providing a lot closer to the required parking for the drive-through restaurant. And I think, as everyone noted, when we look at that relatively new store on Thompson Road and the size of the parking, it's not very well utilized, to say one thing. The other comments that the board made dealt with the drive-through queue, to make sure we have adequate queue, both from the order board out and then from the order board to the pickup window. So now we're meeting the code requirements, and we're showing those car spaces wrapping around in that drive-through. There's a total of 10 or 11 there now. So I think we're trying to hit those points. Certainly still have some challenges in the red box on the zoning table. We're showing 3 variances required. First and foremost, front yard setback for the building piece. That then in turn deals with your building height requirements because of the distance away, that we're just slightly off of what's what is needed there for that height variance. And then along Marginal Way, there's a pinch point there. It's a pretty wide right of way, and we're not meeting the landscape buffer requirement at the triangle point for sidewalk and parking area. But we meet it in most other places. It just, again, to square off and to provide proper access and some parking spaces on that that little piece of that triangle. You can see it right there. Yeah, right where that your cursor is there. So those are the highlight points. Certainly we wanted to get this layout back in front of the board for commentary before we had advanced to a full site plan set. But I think again we've been with between Mike and our team working diligently to solve those questions from the first go around.
Great. Okay, so we'll go through the variances and talk about those a little bit more in depth. The building itself, proximity to the street, and then National Grid easement. I think one of the first things that kind of came up when we were looking at this is how cars are supposed to get in to the order queue. Have you done turning auto turns on this?
Yeah, we for regular vehicle, John, you can speak to that a little bit, but we did make that and again it's a 180 movement, but the cars coming off of Bridge Street would be on the right side of that, and then it's a full 24-foot lane to make that movement. An auto turn uses an 18-foot length of a vehicle, so that's a SUV or like a pickup truck size vehicle, and it's able to make that movement without crossing those parked cars in that first aisle. So we did do that. We can show that as well with that trail wheel and that type of thing. John, you can confirm that, right?
Yeah, also when you're doing that, our standard is 20 foot per car when we're talking about
For stacking.
So use a 20-foot module for each car.
Which makes sense.
Are you aware of any examples where that 180-degree turn has been successfully used locally?
We can look it up. I mean,
because I have to be honest, I have personally never experienced that or seen that locally.
Have you considered at all doing like kind of a one-way circulation through the site, like entering on Marginal and going through the drive-through and then exiting Bridge Street or something like that so there's less conflicts in the circulation?
If I could speak up, I think that would be pretty harmful to our business. We really need to have business come in off of Bridge Street. That's the high traffic road. So I think it would be harmful to us if we had only cars coming in only off of Marginal.
Or if they came in just from Bridge Street and exited Marginal, just to have less. So I'm thinking about a car trying to exit on Bridge Street, crossing the
Well, no, they can
drive-through.
only go right in right now.
Right, it's a right out on Bridge, so they could
Choke
try to exit on Bridge Street.
They all gotta cross again. Right.
well, I think more so than that is we're trying to balance the particulars of that, and I'll use nasty words, that obscene parking count for this restaurant. We're showing 43 spaces to Stripe. If we eliminated 4 spaces in the approach to that drive-through, that certainly would help that movement, and we certainly don't need those spaces for our business. And I think that would we could soften that horseshoe and make that approach a little bit better to get to the drive-through in that scenario. I mean, part of what was discussed last month was, try to take a look at what was done on Thompson Road, and this is relatively close to providing that type of approach to the drive-through pieces, and I'll take a look at that 180-degree movement in that horseshoe, but certainly we can soften that by eliminating 4 spaces on that under that approach for the drive-through, and kind of increase the throat or even be able to do something different with it. But that's what jumps out at me when we're talking about this. But as Mike said, we need to provide trips for both the northbound movement on Bridge Street and the ability of using the signal on Marginal to get our customers that are approaching the other way. And as we talked about before, over the history that I've been in town for 35 years, There's always been challenges for this particular property because of access, and we're trying to improve that.
One point about the parking, I'm in the Village of Colony doing a similar restaurant, and they have the opposite type of code. They want us to reduce our parking. We're down to about, I think, 18 or 17 spots for a restaurant. We feel in today's environment that is enough. What we did do is we went through and took 10 of our busiest restaurants in that market, and we did 15-minute intervals of our camera system to count cars. And we did a study, and what we showed is even at peak, we were only 6 to 8 cars in the whole lot. But most of our employees, most of them don't even drive. So they use public transportation. There may be a few more that drive here, but the need for parking today in this current business model is really, really not anywhere near what it used to be. And I personally, I don't think I see it coming back. I think it's a drive-through or a walk-up type of business now. We do get a lot of business walk-up. A lot of delivery as well, so cars are in and out quick.
I'm still just struggling with the overall site circulation.
It's not as, I'll be honest with you, the prior plan had better site circulation. We were just trying to meet some of the comments that we heard.
Right, no, and we appreciate that. I mean, I think you're headed in the right direction. I think there's still some massaging to happen. I think you're gonna have to massage a little bit more once you add, 20 all the way back. Have you looked at and we were just looking at the Taco Bell down on Thompson, the site layout? I mean, that one's nicely set up because it's got the order loop and the parking kind of separated.
Yeah.
In there.
Yeah, and we would love to have something similar to that this site really only has not even quite an acre of buildable land because of all these easements. Not only are we straddled with that one that cuts through the property, there's the overhead easements you can't build underneath, and that cuts across on a 45-degree, right where that point meets the sidewalk in the front. That line you see, that we can't go beyond that. So it's probably speaks to the point of why it hasn't been developed yet. It's a beautiful site, visibility wise, it's a beautiful site. You couldn't ask for better. We love it, but trying to figure out how you can situate a building on there and make all of those easements work is really the struggle. And that's our prior layout. We basically were in the same spot or a little bit forward of where the Carmela's restaurant was. We were almost in the same spot. And we thought we could work with that because the circulation works so well around the building. But it's not close to the sidewalk. I get it. And I understand what what your plan is.
Yeah, and that's our kind of forward thinking.
Can you talk a little bit about this future building?
Well, I wish I could. It's a concept plan. It could be a retailer, it could be a Verizon, it could be somebody that wants to be over there. But we don't have any real solid bites at this point. And it would probably have to come back to the board for anything that we put there, so.
There been any talk, and I know you're constrained with space because of that easement, to taking a future building and moving it up like next to the Taco Bell, just having more of a walkable site. This isn't the mixed use overlay. You could do mixed use and get some height.
Well, I certainly would love to consider that, but as we take a look at the blue line and the red line and just the overall odd shape of the lot, it's just got cuts that cut in all over the place.
Yeah.
And when you add the easements into it, now you've got two little triangles, basically less than an acre that you can put a building.
Is that another easement up by the driveway?
Yeah, so there's an angled line that follows that line and points into the sidewalk in the front. That angled line, you notice how it just about clips the second building? You can't do anything in front of that. That's all overhead line easements. You can't build underneath. So the buildable space is very limited. The biggest opportunity is right in the center of that parking area. That's where it's the least amount of constraint. but that's where we had the building before, but it's a little, like I say, it doesn't meet that criteria of being up by the road. We tried perpendicular, we tried, anything we could do to get, but there's just no way to put a long building across that easement line.
Yeah, I think the building location is great. I mean, the idea is to start making this corridor more walkable, and this would be really like a showpiece for that.
Right.
So this is Kevin. I have a question. If you remove the left-hand set of parking from the set of 20 and you went counterclockwise through the drive-through, will that work if we reduce the parking requirements?
You can't, you'd be driving on the passenger side would be on the pickup window, that's the problem. If we queued those cars around the
Details. Well, maybe you need a way to figure that out and then we can solve the problem. Okay.
Right, drive cars.
No driver cars in the back.
For the sidewalk along Marginal, is there a reason it doesn't go all the way to the property line, like through that driveway?
I'm not sure. Oh. No, I don't know. I don't know if it's, Matt could answer that. It looks like it's a little.
Just graphically at this point in time, yeah, we would go all the way further to the east side of that. That's just a graphic thing. That's not a problem. That's easy.
Is there potential to extend that sidewalk kind of right over the ADA spots over to connect to the hotel? Just connect it straight across that drive aisle somehow.
Yeah, again, that's concrete on the plan. We would do a crosswalk of the entry drive to Marginal and provide access to the hotel piece if that's desired.
And where it says grass area, is that, I'm sorry, I missed a little bit of the discussion on it. Is that a future drive-through?
Well, again, it's certainly still unknown. The grass area is we're initially showing the immediate plan sense. So the little dashed lines are a potential ring road around a future building of unknown type or desire, but we just kind of were trying to put all the potential pieces, and part of that was when we're calculating out the open space criteria, what would be the max build for this scenario to make sure that we're not encroaching on a few other variances in a future build. And that future retail could be, that's kind of like the max that can fit with the criteria 5,000. It can be down to another 3,000 square foot building or something, and that's all an unknown for Mike and his team to see who's interested in the property. It's kind of like, once the Taco Bell project goes through, some other things might open up, but as of now, at least what Mike has been telling us, we don't have a user for that yet.
All right.
This is Kevin again. I have one more comment. I guess I heard you state that it seems like they're being constrained by the required parking spaces. So is there any way we can come up with what we'd be allowed through the variance process so then they could potentially fix the drive-through? Like, I don't know who would ever park at that first parking spot right where the drive-through is. You're never getting out. You can't back in and then you want to back out. So many of those parking spots, nobody in his right mind is going to park there anyway.
Yeah, I think those are gonna change a little bit, because once you do 20 foot per car, that all backs up a little bit and they're not gonna meet that stacking requirement.
Right, but I think I heard the developers say that they're trying to meet a non-variance parking space count potentially. And I just wonder if they had a more realistic number, then they might not be constrained and come up with a design that's more amenable to what we're looking towards. So do we have that number, I guess?
Fair, you can certainly bring that to us to review and to look at. I mean, we appreciate non-pervious, or pervious.
Yeah, I mean, I call it a pork chop. I'm not sure what Matt calls it, but that, the land that's in between the drive-through and the main entranceway, that could be widened and you could bring a car in a wider circle if we could get rid of those 4 or 6 spots that are at the entrance of the drive-through, so we could probably make that a little deeper. And then when car comes around, it'll be an easier turn and you'll have more stack. The other thing we could do with stack is there is a potential for a second drive-through lane, but though that would give us more stacking, it would probably give us another 3 cars. It wouldn't meet the code. I don't know if the code looks at each lane individually. Yeah, so even though the overall stacking is greater, it ends up requiring more variances.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
still need the same stacking for each
Yeah.
lane.
yeah, I mean, take a look at the parking. We're open to having that conversation in there. I think we're just struggling with the circulation in here. I'm not sure that this board is convinced that this is the best circulation through here, both internally, but also out to Marginal and the bridge. And how all that works. So.
Mark, oh, go on.
No, I was gonna say, just keep pushing the circulation side. Height variance, I think we can handle the height variance. We'd like to see, you know, robust plantings and stuff for our landscape buffer, if we're gonna, you know, offer any sort of variance on the landscape buffer, you know, whatever we can do to kind of really
Sweet
make this
trees.
Yeah, we could do that for sure. The pinch point at the sidewalk, I mean, it's such a deep right of way there. You got so much green that goes all over to the Marginal. So it's the lot line does represent a tight pinch point, but look at all that space out to the sidewalk. That's all, you know, gonna be landscape. Well, we're not, maybe we can't landscape it, but we certainly can cut the grass and make sure that it's that it's attractive.
the other side of that sidewalk, yeah. Yep, and then I think there's an opportunity, I said this before, maybe in that kind of northeast corner, right where the mouse is right now.
Mhm.
You know, for some sort of kind of making that seating area, plaza, something that like draw your eye to it as you kind of come around the corner over
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
But I think site circulation parking's one. You did talk about the ghosted building and not showing that?
Yes, on the final site plan, we would not want to show the
Okay,
future building because that won't be approved as part of this.
Okay.
Right, so it's good that you're planning for it and you're showing it now, but anything that we go from, you know, approvals.
Okay.
Not.
Okay. Yeah. That's
Mark,
it.
can you talk real quick about what you want to see for drainage?
Well, yeah, I mean, so it'll need a SWIP, obviously, Speedy's permit, for greater than acre disturbance, so those requirements will need to be met. Along with the town's, this is in a Lake Creek drainage area. I think you're familiar with that, so the post-development runoff has to be equal to, for the 100-year storm, has to be equal to the existing for the 10-year storm.
Yeah, we got all that, Mark. We put some placeholders here initially. Again, I think we've done some preliminary calcs and did a kind of a lick the thumb sizing, but we'll certainly, once we get a layout situated, then we'll churn those calcs and make that all happen.
Yeah, I kind of figured you, yeah, I know you just don't want to go through a lot of that detail until you, you know, you get the site plan
100%,
nailed down a
100%.
bit better. Yep.
Yeah, so we're hence the placeholder there, the blue area is, we know we've got a reserve area for stormwater management, so we'll certainly take care of that.
Sure.
One comment that was made that kind of, it was mentioned that the site circulation for the access off of Bridge and Marginal, we're pretty much locked in at those 2 locations. I mean, I don't know what other things, you know, Jeff Deep and DOT looked at that right in, right out access onto Bridge. The location kind of splits the driveways between Marginal and Sealy. So that location, far as, you know, that starting point, we think it's locked in. And then our access off of Marginal has to be from inside curb radius to the stop bar 100 feet, and we have that locked in. So I just want to make sure we're clear that those 2 access points are pretty tight.
Yeah, I think you're talking to the right points. They're tight in there. I think our concern is you've got, you know, what we hope to be a very popular drive-through restaurant with a right in, right out on Bridge Street, where you've got people that are gonna be coming off the throughway and not knowing that they've got to go into Marginal Way to make that left-hand turn, and they're gonna try and cut across a couple of lanes of traffic into that pork chop to try and make that turn. So there's gotta be signage. And
100%.
so, you know, we can deal with this in some way that
Right.
is prevent people from trying to make that weird left-hand turn off Bridge, because they didn't know that they had to go down Marginal Way to get in. Marginal Way going back out, you know, it's the same thing, like if we get, you know, a couple of cars, especially when everybody's leaving at the end of the day, stacked up a Marginal there, and people are trying to cut across coming out of this parking lot with people coming in from Bridge Street, you know, there's just a concern that there's gonna be some sort of kind of congestion that happens right there. So
Understood.
that's what we wanna talk about. I mean, I completely understand that you're locked in with DOT and the distance from Marginal Way and everything, but we need to make sure that we're being smart about the way that we set this up. So that we
And-
don't create an issue, especially out on Bridge, more than anything else.
And I agree. We want to make certainly safe movement. We want, you know, the public to have safe movements around this popular restaurant. Part of that is working with the town as well with some way signage, appropriate way signage, so that we're directing that traffic in an appropriate manner. So, well, again, we can get into those details, but you know, doing the best we can with those right in, right outs, and certainly are aware that people make illegal movements, and we'll do the best we can to prevent that.
Also, once you get your plans a little further along, we're gonna want a full photometric for the site.
100%.
Building elevations, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, in our initial submittal, and I don't think that's changed. John, I don't know if you have that up. We provided a rendering of what this building will look like, very similar to what I think happened on Thompson.
Okay,
Can you remind me where did that driveway for the hotel cross access land in this site?
So, whoops, he's doing two things at once. So for this version of it, to answer that question, for this version, the existing driveway and that easement will remain as it is today. So that gray area to the east or the right side of the screen is the hotel access going back to Enterprise Way. So under this scenario, that access and I know that Jamie asked for what that easement language was, and I think the ownership group was looking into it. I think Mike did receive a copy of that easement, and for the purposes of this first phase of this development, or the Taco Bell development, we're going to keep that driveway as it exists today. Obviously, a cross connection would make some sense in a completed development piece, and once the phase 2 or that future building comes about, some easement negotiations will have to occur with the hotel owners to modify that easement and that driveway as it exists today.
Well, the language as I read it is this, the pass-through point. I don't, the easement doesn't have an exhibit that shows it going all the way out to the road, but the pass-through point needs to be maintained. So that right at that corner of their property, see it right there, there's a 24-foot opening that has to be maintained. You know, just like what Matt just said, if we have a future second user, it may behoove the user, the hotel, or anyone to connect the two, I don't know. But at that point, I think it would be prudent to maybe look at that and say, hey, maybe it's better if there's a cross connection there. Maybe in the future we could shut off that other driveway, but at the moment we won't be able to do that.
I mean, I'd kind of like to see that consolidated and simplified. It's just a spaghetti network of drive access onto the site. I think it's unfortunate.
Any other questions from the board? You have enough direction?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, we understand, we need to take a look at fixing that internal circulation, and we're gonna balance that with a parking count scenario. And come back with, you know, it'll add to our variance list of parking count, but I think it makes sense for this use. And I think, you know, we'll take a look at that internal circulation and do the best we can to improve it. And part of that compromise is a reduction in parking.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I mean, there's improvement here, which we appreciate, you know, let's keep working through it. You know,
Pedestrian
again,
circulation as well,
yeah,
as part of that, please.
you know, planning for that. The only other comment that I've got in here, and then we've got to move on for the morning here, but in your table, in there, make sure that you remove any references to the MUV. You're not at, I mean, there's an MUV overlay there, but it's not actually implemented on this site, so remove all the references to the MUV. And then as well, remove references to the ghosted building. Requirements.
Understood. And again, I think that was, we provided that ghost building because of the comments that what's the planning of that, so. But we'll certainly get rid of it.
While we're sitting here in discussions like these, talking about this, I wanna see the ghosted building. But when we get into looking at final approvals and where we stand, like, it has to come off at that point.
Understood.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, next up, we got Rolex. There's applicants here for Rolex.
Good morning. Let me share my screen. Ray's gonna.
Yep, I was on mute. Sorry about that, guys. And that up there.
Yes.
So I appreciate everybody's time. This application that we're putting in, it's Rolex, but it's really the former Ethan Allen building that's for Reed's. Rolex is a subtenant within the Reed space. So Reed's Jewelers, which is the first space on the end, the right-hand side. One of the things that I just wanted to clarify is, I guess with the review process, the town has changed that every application has to be a new site plan application. And this one in particular, we're already approved on the overall building site and whatnot. It's already gone through town approval. The focus of this site plan, I'm going to call it an amendment, but by the town site plan process, a new site plan, is just Rolex and working with Reed's wanted to greatly enhance the landscaping that was on the site, as well as have a little bit more of a presence and a higher end feel of the materials that were entering the site. And they also added a couple of enhancements of those two of the spaces that were already delineated for parking. They're putting charging stations for EV vehicles as well. So that was really, that's all we're changing on it. We're not changing, you know, the site plan approval. We're not changing the subdivision. We're not changing the building approval or anything of that nature. We're just focusing on the landscaping. And that being said, the landscaping, as you can kind of see, and Vince will go into detail on what we're doing, is basically the materials coming into the space, rather than just having straight asphalt. We're having a stamped asphalt slash stamped concrete. We haven't determined which one because of, you know, the weather conditions, pricing, and whatnot, that we're doing on the entry throat to the development, as well as putting some nice, very regal stone entry landscaping walls on either side to give it really a nice presence as you're entering the overall development. So that's really the focus of what we're looking at. And then the landscaping obviously will be irrigated and all that jazz. So because we're going to have quite a bit of landscaping. So that being said, I just wanted to make sure we don't get into, you know, as far as the parking layout, the circulation, that's already approved. This is already approved, and unfortunately, when we got approval, we started working on the demo, and then it was requested by the town before we had the site plan approval to have the subdivision map filed, which we did. Unfortunately, I was going to say that process required the 3-mile review, so we lost like 4 or 5 months of the construction season, and that's why it's not done right now. To just basically have the city of Syracuse say they were okay with it from day one, but we had to go through their process. So we lost pretty much the entire summer based upon just waiting for Syracuse to give their okay. That was after the town already approved it and after the county already approved it. So that was kind of the unfortunate bureaucracy of, dealing with the city of Syracuse, if you will. So that's why we're here now. And in that time frame, what was I going to say, Rolex and Reed's got together and said, hey, we really want to make this thing really nice. And that being said, for the meeting on Thursday, Jeff Zimmer from Reed's, which is the owner of Reed's, will be there as far as present with me. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys a heads up that this is really a main focus of his business, and he really wanted to meet with the town and tell him what his future and vision was. So Vince, I'll turn it to you on that one.
Yeah, Ray here kind of went over it, but the intent is for 2 entrance walls to kind of highlight the driveway, bring the driveway up to a level that looks, we've been throwing around the word stately. So that's going to be a combination of concrete and concrete paver. Again, as Ray mentioned, we do not quite know which material we're going with quite yet, but in terms of patterning, is what you see here. So it's just a matter of whether we go with pavers in the middle or it's more of a stampcrete product. Same for the parking spaces. Either it's going to be brick or stampcrete brick, but the pattern will be what is shown here. Just the material change will be different. So this is L3, and L3 basically calls out material. And
Vince, if I can interrupt for 1 second, one thing I just wanted to clarify. We have determined that it's going to be stamped. It's whether it's stamped concrete or stamped asphalt. So they're not going to go with pavers.
Asphalt?
Yeah. So they're both the stamped asphalt and the stamped concrete. It just depends on where you're using it. So concrete has different properties. We've worked with both of them. And both of them would be stained as well. So it's just what is better under freeze thaw and things of that nature.
I was gonna say, how does stamped asphalt hold up to plows?
Actually better than concrete. So with additives and whatnot, I've used it probably millions of square feet on it, just because what happens with concrete cracks and asphalt wears. So asphalt's a little bit more maintenance, concrete's a little bit more catastrophic failure. So it's like whether you're dealing with cracks or you're dealing with wearing down the surface. So it's kind of a crapshoot in that regard.
Thanks for clarification, Ray. And then on L4, we start to show some of the detailing for that entrance wall. There'll be 2 lights over the top. So the previously submitted photometric plan, the existing post light that's at the entranceway will be removed. We have these photometrics coming. We just don't have them yet. They'll be replaced with 2 post lights at the entrance. But essentially that'll be the look of the wall, and then the wall is going to match. This is a pullout for the building material, and that's going to be replicated on the wall as well. This image up here is just for precedent, but the wall will be faced, the wall will be faced with this material here.
Have you talked to state DOT to see if they are okay with the wall going right up to the right-of-way line?
We will put a call out to DOT and ask them. You're talking here along this.
Yeah,
this
if you can
case.
just show them that and make sure they don't have any issue.
Yeah, we'll reach out.
while we're talking about that one particular wall, I think it's great that you have the wall and you added some nice, ground plantings in front of it. But let's also be conscious of the fact that that's a two-sided wall. You're seeing it from West Jenny. Or
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Yep,
So,
and though any plantings that would be required by the DOT would be the DOT standard. And as you guys know, that kind of wall it's flat for a little area and then obviously starts to fall down, if you will, towards the road.
yeah, I'm wondering about putting some planting on the West Genesee side. So that you're not seeing the whole wall there, if you treat it like a two-sided wall.
Absolutely, and it would be completely faced, and like I said, the plantings would be to DOT standard. So they're not necessarily town standard, they're DOT standard at that side.
That should say East Genesee Street, not West Genesee Street.
Oh, yeah, I'll change that.
The lighting plan you just brought up, is that new photometric plan with the changes you're making?
This is the photometric plan that was previously submitted. I should have the photometric plan today, with the updated showing the two lights, at the entranceway.
And to your question, you see that bubble area, that's the only change. So, and it's just got to be changed to the lighting that's on the wall. So we sent it to them. They just didn't have it ready for this meeting. They probably have it ready for Thursday's meeting. We just haven't gotten it back yet.
Okay, if you can send us that as soon as you have it, that would be great. And we'll check with state too, maybe.
So,
Where are you
I'm not
putting,
sure.
where are you putting the EV chargers?
Vince, you could show them right where those two little car looking circle things are.
So I don't know that we have you on the agenda for Thursday evening, just so that we're clear. This is a work session today. We'll get
Oh,
all your.
I apologize. I thought usually when you had the work session, it's on Tuesday. Typically it's on, I was assuming that we were on Thursday.
Yeah, no, we try to do the work session here so you can take any of the comments and, any of those things that you might need to adjust and get them for the next cycle. So that you're not trying to do it in a day and a half and rush it and then we don't see it. I mean, we've changed that process, so. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not.
I was
it's
not
this
aware of that.
session. So just coordinate with Alana's office for getting on to one of the upcoming sessions here, but it would not be this Thursday.
Would it be, I guess the question I have for you, would it be in November or?
This is our only meeting in November, so you'd likely be the first meeting in December.
Okay, I'll have to talk to Jeff about that because he's unavailable in December. He kind of wanted to come in and present, but I don't know if he's available in December, so I'll talk to him about it.
So December 5th is our next meeting. So the deadline for that would be November 21st. So if you can get us everything by then, hopefully we can get everything in shape to have you in on the 5th and for final.
Yep.
Is it possible with this level? I know it's a new site plan process and we're at concept right now, but the reality is we're kind of just doing a modification of the existing. Is it possible that we could get all the approvals in one session, or do we have to go through like the 2 or 3 normal?
No, I think we can handle this in one. I think this is minor enough. We're not adjusting the site layout. We're handling a couple of materials and adding a wall. I think we can handle that in one session. Just make sure that all the material is in and complete.
Yep, and we pretty much have them done. We just didn't have them done for this meeting we have renderings of looking at the wall itself too.
Yeah, so I think we can handle it all in one meeting, keep you guys, moving and out of here.
The other issue, and I think Eric might have talked to one of you about this, is this is going to need a multi-tenant sign package since there are multiple tenants in the building.
Yep, and we did receive that comment. We don't have it yet, so we would seek that as a separate approval. We'll do that completely separate, the site plan process. As far as the signage we'd submit separately.
Okay.
Right.
We don't have the other tenants yet, so.
Okay, and is the monument sign part of this approval?
No, it is not. That would be the signage package. We do it all as one.
Okay,
So what we want to do is we want to keep the construction going and focus on the reeds, and hopefully we have the other tenants in line, and then we submit the signage all together. So you have a cohesive package.
To clarify, the monument sign that's located here is existing, and is
Yep.
not being touched at this time.
That's correct. We won't have any, we won't change it until we change it. It'll be in the same location, but it'll be a renovation of that sign as well as the whole signage package, and we'll submit it all at once.
Great. Okay. All good?
All right.
Thank
Any
you.
other comments?
Not at this time. We'll look for your
Okay.
updated materials.
yeah, are you gonna?
Okay,
send us
appreciate it.
details
Thank
on
you.
the- Can you send us, sorry, details on the EV chargers as well?
Yeah, we could send you the detail on it. Absolutely.
Okay, that'd be great.
On the, are you looking for the model, or I have details on that L4 sheet?
All
for-
the details, and the town likes to see landscaping around those and no advertising. If there's gonna be lighting on it, just all the details on it and putting them on the site plan.
Yeah, we want
Yeah,
full cut sheets of them.
I was gonna say the landscaping is pretty much all done because they're kind of in the middle of the parking lot, if you will. So we'll make sure that there's obviously, we'll send you that there's no extra signage or advertisement or anything like that on it. But that's why we kind of put them where they are, where they're close proximity, relatively close proximity to the door, not on top of it, but also within the entire landscape. I mean, as you can see, when we present, from the old landscaping to the new, which the old landscaping had a lot of landscaping, this is like way more. I mean, it's quite a bit of increased landscaping overall.
Are those chargers trickle charges or level 2? Do they require transformers, or folks gonna be parked there? If you could just provide that level of info too.
Yeah,
We
like
could
all the
get you that. I don't
electrical-
know that off the top of the head. And Vince, do you know that? I'm not sure if you know.
We
that.
never talked through what kind of transformers, charges we were gonna be using.
Yep.
So we need to
Yes,
go over
we
that.
want to see those electrical connections, all the details.
The other thing, just a footnote that I think you guys will be happy with, it's not part of this approval, but we are in discussions with the utility company of bringing the electric underground. So we're just waiting, basically we already have a work ticket in there, so we could get rid of that spaghetti of overhead wires that's like 5 feet off the ground that's existing, which we all can't stand. So we're trying to, we're trying to get those underneath along with the landscaping to make a vast improvement of the overall site.
Can you just update us real quick on what's going on with Dewey Ave with the break there?
Actually, that's funny you bring that up because I was going to bring that up. I left it with Derek that he was going to bring it up with the town board, and I never heard back when we were getting the site plan approval. So we're definitely have interest in that section of Dewey Avenue, but we haven't heard back from the town board how they want to approach it. And when I mean how they want to approach it, I'm saying, do they want to maintain it? Do they want to sell it? Do they want to dedicate it?
I think they
That
want to
section.
maintain it.
What was that?
I believe they want to maintain it, is my understanding.
Okay, so if they maintain it, then basically they're in the middle of, it's kind of like in limbo in between. If we could, I mean, there is a desire from the development team to acquire it from whether that's a dedication or whether that's a sale, whatever it is. And then basically have that part of the overall development, that we could use that for parking area, landscaping, things of that nature would be desirable. But this is the first I heard from the town specifically that they wanted to just maintain it.
Okay, have you been in talks with Rocco at all about this, or?
Originally, yes, but I haven't talked to him since it went to the town board level.
Okay. We will do some legwork and try to figure out what's going on with all that.
That would be greatly appreciated. we were trying to get an answer, and then Derek said, I'm going to bring it up at the next town board meeting, not planning board, and see what they wanted to do, and we never heard back.
Okay, I'll talk to Rocco and Derek.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody's time this morning.
Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
All right, we can recording. That's the end of the public session.